now I want to add the portion that's going to make this an H. And there's a lot of different tools that you can use to add that. You could use the polygonal lasso tool, and you could create your H this way. Maybe you want to have a little bit of angle. I already know what I want. You can do that and then fill it in. I know I want to have a rounded end, so I could also use the elliptical marquee tool and kind of find just the right amount of curve I want to make up the end, and then fill that. And then use a square marquee tool to finish it off. And I could move them around where I want. But I'm going to show you, step backwards here. I'll show you the pen tool again, just so you have this in your arsenal. So I'm going to say, go ahead, I want it to be on this layer, so I should have that selected to begin with. I want to start about here. I want it to cross this center line again to build that kind of balance and that unity. I want it to be fairly thick, a little thicker than the tops here, but not too much. Now, one thing I can do if I'm using the pen tool is I can then come in and hit the convert point tool. What this is going to allow me to do is take a specific point like this and then add a little bit of bend to it. I can take that back down to normal where it was like that. And then, so now I can basically convert any of these points of lines. So I can have nice straight lines, and then I can work on an angle here at any point. So all three of these methods are fine for building the portion of the H. I'm going to go back to the elliptical marquee tool because just for the sake of symmetry, making sure everything's nice and flat. Add that in, edit, fill, color, because my red is a little different than my foreground color selected. Fill that in, and then I'm going to go ahead, use the rectangle marquee tool. And there are keyboard shortcuts for all of these moves. I want you to see. And then what I can do is I can go ahead and clean up anything. I can go Command plus. I can get in here real tight and see, okay, well, I've kind of got a little uneven amount there. So again, I can use my marquee tool to just use the arrow tool to kind of move this around right where I want it. And select right about there is good. Edit, fill, color. Now, we still have a little bit right there. What I can do to clean that up, I can select that and delete that just to clean up the edges. That's another great tool. You use brushes, erasers, and the marquee tools to create items, but also to clean up items by deleting certain areas. Let's go ahead and move this back out. And so now we have our basic symmetrical shape. We have the O and the H just like I planned. At this point, it looks very plain. It looks like an inverted white C, but with a little bit of work and a little bit of light, it will come to life. We want to add some depth and some color lighting effects. So it'll soon turn into a 3D image that looks something like this with a little bit of work. So this is what we need to start with, though. Sometimes when we're working, we'll realize that maybe something's not quite right. So before I move on, one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to have this space between the O and the H so they were two separate letters. So I moved the O over a little bit, moved the H over a little bit. We are outside title safe a little bit, but once again, this is going to be for an object we're going to place into a title card, so we're fine with that. But this is too narrow for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pen tool. I'm going to show you another trick here. I'm going to make a mark there. I'm going to come out just about right here, and I'm going to hold the Shift key down. What that's going to do, notice that gave me a nice straight line. Same thing here. I want this to be a little bit fatter, about that thickness. I hold the pen tool, hold the Shift key, and it creates nice lines for me. And this doesn't have to be completely vertical because that's going to blend in. I want to go ahead and add this curve back to it, so I'm going to use the Convert Point tool. Click on this, and then I'm going to give this just the amount of bend I want. A little less than it has now. Probably a little bit lower. Probably somewhere in that neighborhood. And then I'm going to come back up here, grab this point. I want to flatten this line back out. Just hold the Shift. Notice how it snaps right into place. Makes it nice and level again. Come over here, paths. Convert that to a path. Edit, fill, my color. And that's a little bit more than what I had in mind. A little bit thicker here, and we have the space here. Now we're ready to proceed with some effects and light and coloring, now that I have my basic shape exactly how I want it.